Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host back in the saddle, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Welcome back, buddy. How was the spa?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Not been. I wish I would been, but I imagine it was great.
Well, Tim, you just got back from the Alpha Reset not too long ago. Why don't we take a moment here, Tim, and just give us a quick update on the Alpha Reset and the happenings for the guys. Obviously not giving away too much there, so the guys that are going to the next one can still have that element of surprise.
I think the easiest way to sum it up is to talk about the results, when the guys return home. So, one of the guys, obviously the work they do at the Alpha Reset, the realizations, the shifts they have, the emotional releases, the vision, all that kind of stuff.
So let's back it up for a second. I'm going to back it up for a second because I know a lot of people on here are newer to the podcast because we do get those notes. So let's talk about it a little bit. So the Alpha Reset is one of our flagship events that we have, and it is essentially a 4-day retreat that the men go to. It's extremely immersive. We usually have, 3 coaches, depending on the number of men that are there. Very exclusive event and I would say intensely transformational. There's some relaxation that goes on, but it's where men come. Great men go to better themselves. So that is the Alpha Reset. You cannot go to an Alpha Reset right now without going through the activation method. Is the foundation. So Tim, take it away.
Yeah, and it was great because obviously the new coach, Mark, great guy, amazing man. He was there. He's been doing men's work for over 10 years and been involved in launching the Mankind in South Africa. Loads of great stuff, like accolades galore, if you will. And even he said, I've never seen such a transformation in men in such a short space of time. Which, I'm not meaning to sound braggadocious, as you would say, Doug. It's just a pattern, right? You said the same thing. Arthur said the same thing. We hear it time and time again, which is awesome. I love that. And, again, getting back to the men, when they returned home, wow, it was great. Seeing them share pictures of them with the wife and the kids. One guy, arrived home, was able to have really meaningful conversations with his kids that, really shifted things. And then his kid said to him, "Daddy, who did you look up to when you were young?" And he shared with them who he looked up to. And then he asked them, well, who did you look up to? And they said, "You. I want to be just like you, Daddy."
Woo. And let that sink in for a second.
Incredible.
Wow. Chills.
And then he obviously started to share with his wife everything that he'd realized and accepting a lot of his shortcomings. And that then created a space for her to really open up. She then started crying and really crying with tears of real joy because, her guy was back, if you will. This then led to them planning out exactly what they were going to be doing with their life over the next 12 months and where they were going to go on holiday, what they were going to do. And, put into context, this was the guy that came into the program because his wife has had an affair and he was coming home from work and just being absent. He was there, but he wasn't there. He wasn't engaging. He was kind of like another kid, in his words, because his story was that he wasn't emotional and he couldn't open up, which we obviously know. We've heard that many times before, right? So anyway, when he then gets back to his wife and he's opening up in all these ways and he's doing so with such confidence and ease, she then, feels that from him more than hearing what he says. She feels how he says it, right? Which then led to them having great sex. They woke up in the morning and she turned to him and she said, "Wow, last night was amazing," and dived on him again. And he said, "Tim, we have not had sex the night before and woken up and done it straight again the following morning for, God," he said, "I can't even remember the last time." And, I'm not going to go through every guy, but, it's pretty similar to that with little nuances specific to what their individual circumstances were. And it was great. As you know, Doug, day 2 is a very heavy day. I actually wore my Fitbit on day 2 this time, and I did 19,000 steps. It was 15 kilometers.
That means the other coaches did about 40,000.
Which might not seem like a lot, but if you put it into context, we hire out these great, amazing places. This one was in the Lake District in the UK. If you're familiar, you know how gorgeous that place is. Huge stately home, hot tubs, saunas, secluded. So, the guys, when they're not in session, can have a real good relaxation. But the area where we did the work was like a spacious living room, but, not a huge, place whereby if you're doing 18,000 steps, it's because you're covering this entire massive place. It was like 18,000 steps back and forth. So in terms of laps, I must have done, God, I don't know, 1,000 laps or something. It was incredible though. Obviously it took me many days to recover, to be honest. I think I took on a lot of the energy of the guys. I was sharing this with you. I felt agitated for a few days when I got back, and I took myself through one of the exercises we take the men through, in fact, on day 2, and it was just awesome. I'd definitely taken on some of the emotions that these guys release when they're there. A lot of the anger, obviously day 2, designed to release anger, guilt, shame, sadness, and arrive at peace and empowerment, if you will. So it's a big day. It's a big day. It went on until 1 a.m. this time. So it wasn't as late as the 2 a.m. and the 3 a.m.s we've had, starting at like 10 a.m. But it's still a long day and a very, very productive day, just one day of their life, right?
Yeah, you got to expect that when someone's going through such a transformation. It's really, there's a song called Shedding Skin, right? And it's almost like you're shedding skin, a layer of something that's been holding you down. And I remember a client talking to me about it, and it was almost like putting a wet wool blanket on you, and I'm wearing that around it, just not even knowing it was on you, and then somebody coming over and taking it off. And then the other analogy that we hear often, Tim, is it's almost like I was wearing, colored glasses, right? Like colored glasses, and you guys came over on the last day, and someone took the glasses off, and all of a sudden I could see clearly, and I didn't realize how vibrant life really was. These are common things that we hear from these, and they are emotional release. There's tons of different paradigm shifts that occur during this time, and coaches holding space for us. You can take on that energy. It's very natural to do so. Good.
You kind of got to, in some respects, to be able to empathize with the men and read where they're at and guide them, right?
We got to go there.
Yeah, and that's the power of doing it in such small groups as well, right? Because we're able to really guide each guy to where they're required to go individually. If there was, that's why we cap it. I think 12 would be the max. I think the max we've done is like 10, 11. 12, I don't think we'd be able to do any more than 12 and still deliver that at that level. But that's our choice, right? We don't choose to put, in this event, we don't choose to put tens of guys in there, because I just don't think, given what we do, that we just wouldn't be able to serve them in the way that they need, in my opinion, to get the shift that they've come there to get. So it's great. I'm very proud of what we do there. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. And, words don't, sounds cliche, but you've got to experience it. You really do. To actually even come close to understanding what it's like. I don't even think if you were to reach out to the men and ask them what it's like, it probably wouldn't sound like, I don't know what it'd sound like, but it definitely wouldn't actually be what it is like, because it's very difficult to put into words.
Well, for sure. I mean, I've been skydiving, right? And I know you haven't gone yet. I know you want to go. But it's like me describing what skydiving feels like to you. You're like, oh, okay, the wind's blowing your face, so your cheeks are peeled. Like, you can't describe that feeling, or describe to someone who's never had sex what your first orgasm is like, right? You can't, right? You have to, some things are just experiential, right? You need to experience them to truly understand what they're like. These are a lot of things in life, like, right, the birth of your first child, and maybe even your 10th child for some people. But, these are things that until you've gone through them, you can know them conceptually. You can know them really well conceptually, but to go through them, you embody it. And that's the difference. And that's one of the reasons we decided to do small groups. We talk about 12 men, but there were 4 coaches and assistants there. right?
Mm.
There were 4 coaches and assistants there, and there were less than 12 men at that particular event you're talking about. And we often, have that 1-to-3 ratio at these events. And when we do it, because a lot, the guys that we work with are business leaders, they start talking about scaling, and it just wouldn't work. Like you're not going to get massive transformation. We're often told that this experience is the most transformational experience people have ever seen. And it's because of the attention to detail. And it's the little nuances and why we bring so many coaches there. If we did 24 guys, we would have to double or triple the team there and divide the men up, because, for each of you, for the guys listening, for you listening right now, the transformational experience that's required to get to you from where you are now to where you want to go is very individualistic. The mechanisms can be similar, but it's individualistic, right? And this is why a lot of the great coaches charge 6 figures for coaching, right? It's really because they can take you there. And so doing it in a group environment is really special.
And a lot of the guys have tried the logical approach to release a lot of the
every guy tries a logical approach, man.
It just doesn't work though.
No.
Raise a great point when you talk about experiential. What you think in your mind, you feel in the body. So as you go through these experiences, whether it is your wife cheating on you and you feel ashamed or like a failure, or even angry, or whether it is you cheating on your wife, or whatever it is, right? This is why talking about it, for the most part, doesn't work, because you've still got that heaviness inside of you. It's like carrying a sack of rocks everywhere you go. Yeah. You don't realize how heavy it is until you put it down and you're like, oh, shit, wow. But the only way you're going to put it down is by, you've got to experience those emotions and release them. And that cannot be and is not a logical process that you can get through journaling or meditation or talking about it or whatever. It's got to be released. And especially with men, I think there's something very primal about being able to release anger and rage in a very primal way. We talk to as kids, right? Well, don't get angry, don't upset people. Oh, why are you crying? What's wrong? Oh, you don't want to be too happy, don't be arrogant. It's like, well, what the hell are you supposed to do? You're a human being. These emotions are not design flaws. It's just that society, for the most part, has made people think that they are when they're not.
No, yeah, it really isn't. And a lot of the men, we're seeing this in the group right now, right? A lot of the men just haven't had the experience until it's too late. The experience that they're getting is the experience of their wife leaving them or their wife not respecting them. And now they're feeling different. It's not the experience they're looking for, right? They didn't realize these things have accumulated over months, years, and for some decades, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're not getting the experience they want. I think that's the difference between the men that we work with that come through the activation method is they're looking for a change, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, talks about change. Everybody does. Now, you could be a millionaire or you could be poor. You're talking about change in some aspect. Very few people take action on that change. And I think that's what's different, and because they want to experience something different, right? They want to experience the change. They want to experience a change in their self, right? The part of them that has been lost, right? The ability to have fun, the ability to relate to themselves. They want to change their health, right? Their physical fitness, their aesthetics, how they look, right? They look in the mirror one day, right? They want to change their relationships. Maybe it's the relationships with their children, right? Or maybe it's their partner, right? Maybe it's their friends. A lot of men look around, they're like, crap, I don't have any quality friends around me. I got the guys I go to the pub or the bars with, but they're my friends since high school, and they just haven't changed, right? Or their business. They're looking for change in their business, and they haven't really done anything. The common thing, Tim, and you know this as well as I do, is the guys look at their bank accounts. The bank accounts are the same year after year after year in their business, and they're wondering, why haven't things changed? They could be making more revenue, but their bank accounts haven't changed astronomically. At least it's not as much as they feel they deserve. And lastly, their wealth, right? In the 5 territories. Where are they in their wealth, and they haven't done change? So guys, you want to have this not only cognitive rational change, right? And thinking of rational ways to make change, but the reason that these rational things, don't work well and certainly don't last is it needs to be experiential, right? You need to experience it, right? You need to go outside. You can't solve a problem from the same paradigm, right? You need to switch your paradigm and really make a big shift. and don't wait, right? Do it now, do it today, whatever that is. If it's your health, friggin' throw on those running shoes and go for a run. Drop down right now and do 10 push-ups. Maybe it's 100 for you. Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's one push-up, but do something, guys.
It's kind of like why affirmations don't work, right? Often people try and use affirmations, but they have the opposite effect because you're basically lying to yourself. You try to tell yourself something that you don't believe. Logically, you might believe it, but emotionally, you feel very different about it. There's a disconnect there. It's kind of like, when you go to your wife and you try and connect with her, you can say all the right things, but if she's looking you in the eye and you're not even there, you're there, but you're not there, and you're not there because you are in pain, right? And you're hiding it, We like to think we can hide it, but it's written all over our bodies, literally, in many different ways. It is written all over our bodies. And women feel it too. They sense that. So, it's key to be able to experience and release the emotions that you're weighing you down.
Yeah, you have to. It was interesting, Tim, when you talk about that, like affirmations. I was listening to Dr. Andrew Huberman speak, and he's out of Stanford University in the States. And he was talking. He's a neuroscientist, brilliant guy. Great story. He actually it sounds like he lived in UC Santa Barbara area where I went to school, hence being a great guy. But, he used to be kind of a ruffian, partier, skateboarder guy, wasn't going to get into college, anyway, changed his whole life. But he talks about this, how affirmations don't work. And neurologically, they can prove it in science, right? That you can't just go around. Because if you could just go around and affirmations worked and just saying, be happy, and you're happy, nobody would be depressed. Nobody would be angry. Everybody would be wealthy. Everybody would be having tons of sex, right? It does not work that way. Now, I think affirmations are great. It's a good starter. It's a tool in the toolkit, so to speak, to do it. People talk about incantations, right? That idea of really getting into it and embodying it. But there's better ways of doing things, Yeah. If repeating "I am rich, I am rich, I am rich" over and over again made you wealthy, we would have a lot more wealthy people in this world, and we have a ton, but we'd have a lot more, and it just does not work that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there is a time and place for positive self-talk. Obviously, I guess it's kind of like what an affirmation is. And in saying that, like I said, there's a time and a place. So if you're trying to tell yourself things that are just totally out of balance with how you're feeling, it's just not going to work. It just isn't. And look, I did it. I did it for 28 years, 29 years, and I didn't ever understand why. My life was just a pattern of stress, struggle, and sacrifice, even though, I had a business that was growing and, on the surface, I was ticking all the boxes, but really beneath the surface, I was just scrambling emotionally. And it came out in everything I did. I liked to kid myself, pretending that it didn't, but, it wasn't until I just accepted that it did and dived into it that things really started to shift for me. And, it's not a process that I'm ever going to finish either, because, it's as you continue to grow and develop and things change and, emotions continue to come up because we are emotional beings. We are designed to experience emotions, right? It's not a design flaw. So if there's any time when I ignore them, let's say, and just try and push through things, which sometimes, I inevitably do sometimes because I'm a human and it was so ingrained in me. It was the path of least resistance in my mind for so long. And to be honest, for the most part, it's been where I've lived for most of my life. It's only been, 6 years or so, living a different way. So yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this and any of it's resonating with you, whether you go to an alpha reset or not, I'd strongly recommend for you to have some kind of experience. It's interesting. I was speaking to a friend, well, actually our yoga instructor, a few months ago. I was talking to him about one of the exercises that we do at the Alpha Reset, the primal rage release, You can say the name. It's not going to give anything away at all, in fact. So the Primal Rage release, he's gone to the topic of the rage rooms, right? Obviously, have you seen rage rooms, Doug?
Yes, I have. I mean, I know what they are. I haven't actually been to one.
Yeah. They're great. They look great. I was saying to Amelia, because we were looking at houses, and we looked at one. I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to have a room that I'm going to set up, and it's just going to be it's like a release room. I'm just going to go in there.
I call that a red room.
A red, yeah.
Different kind of release. But anyway.
Different kind of release, yeah. Have both. Don't live in either or. So, yeah, anyway, you get the gist. So, guys, my point being is if this is resonating with you at all, I strongly recommend leaning into some kind of experiential experience, because, another part of this is how disease is formed, right? Dis-ease literally is when, created by, one of the ways anyway, is the vibration of your cells, of your body. And, different emotions carry different vibrations. The lighter ones, happiness, joy, peace, are literally lighter, hence why you feel lighter. The heavier ones, like guilt and shame and fear and anger, they're heavier, hence why you feel heavier. And if your set point is to, be living with this stagnant anger and guilt and shame, then you're living with this stagnant heaviness. And that's why life will never really land for you, and achievements will never really feel like achievements, and life just won't really touch you. It's in that place as well where dis-ease starts to set in, as that continues for a long time, and ailments start to appear in the body, and obviously there's other factors as well. But again, I think it's a very important point that maybe isn't spoken about as much within the area of, let's say, personal development. Let's say I think there's lots of logical approaches which are great and definitely have their place, but I think the actual experiential aspect of it is, at least from my experience, isn't spoken about anywhere near as much as I think it ought to be, because it's huge. It's so important.
I agree. Well, so glad you had that opportunity of getting there. Obviously, here in the States, we're looking forward to our next Alpha Reset here, but we can't cross over. I wish I could have been there. And it's been so awesome, not only hearing from you and the coaches, but connecting with the guys that were at the event, that have continued on into the brotherhood and are reaping the rewards. You can just tell a difference in these guys, and it's so friggin' awesome. I mean, that's why I got involved. That's why I am involved in the movement. And, that's when guys go through this, they get the fact of why we call it a movement. It's a movement of men getting unchained and unlocked and just releasing their inner powerful man, and the guy that's always been there for him. So, Tim, thank you for all that you do, and shout out to the rest of the guys, Lee, Jack, Arthur, and all the other participants that were there. I won't mention any other names, but guys, you know who you are. All right, gentlemen, that's it for us for this episode of The Powerful Man Show. As always, head over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus to get a free training. We do switch those out periodically. I'm not even sure which one's running right now, but go over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus, get your free training. And more importantly, or just as important, apply the learnings. All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.